How you doing today? It looks a little wet out there, but we don't get very wet in San Diego, so you don't have to worry about it very much. Okay, how you doing? Okay, thank you, Larry. All right, welcome to Primary Flight Control. I'm your docent, so I'll be taking you through the three sections up here. Now, I have one rule, and most of you are violating my one rule right now. My one rule is you did not come up here to see me, okay? So please don't have to look at me while I'm talking. Look around and see all the stuff, all the goodies. Take all the pictures you want to take while I'm talking. I got 2 chairs up here. Please come up and take turns sitting in the chairs. Take pictures while they're sitting in the chairs. Just, I can talk above you, so don't have to waste time looking at me. Now, this is primary flight control. This is like a control tower at an airfield or an air base. The person in charge is in the left-hand chair up here called the air boss, assisted by the assistant air boss in the right-hand chair called the mini boss. They are very senior commanders. They have had command of aircraft squadrons on board the carrier, so they know all about flying on and off an aircraft carrier, but they don't know how to run the show. So what happens is the mini boss comes aboard the ship for a 2-year tour, spends the first year as the mini boss learning how to run the show. Then moves over the second year and is the air boss, and in turn teaches the mini boss and you mini boss how to run things. So that's the deal. It's a very good job, but pretty stressful. The air boss has absolute authority over the flight deck down there. I don't know if you noticed, but right underneath us on the flight deck, we have some cutouts of people who work on the flight deck, and they're wearing different colored jerseys. Every job on our flight deck is color-coded. So if the air boss looks down and sees a red shirt doing something the red shirt ought not to be doing, he'll get on the radio to one of the flight deck chiefs and tell him to go fix it, and the chief will. Moreover, though, if he sees somebody doing something dangerously unsafe down there, he'll probably invite that person to come up for a little chit-chat. And it probably won't be a very pleasant conversation. At least mine wasn't. And that's not to be mean and nasty. The air boss's number one concern is safety on the flight deck. So we want to make sure people are trained well and doing their job the way they're trained to do it. Now, the way we operate an aircraft carrier is we do something called cyclic operations. Midway would fly 8 cycles every day. Each cycle is an hour and a half long. Each cycle will start off with a launch. Our 2 catapults are up forward on the bow up there. So in order to launch airplanes, we have to have a clear bow. So all of those airplanes would be parked back here in the landing area. So the pilots get in back here, start up, taxi the airplanes forward, and we'll launch 15 to 20 aircraft. As soon as we're through doing that, we're going to land airplanes, recover aircraft that launched on the previous launch. So wham, they'll touch down right here in the middle of our flight deck, grab that cable, come to a roaring halt, right about where that wide rubber mat goes across the flight deck up there, right next to the blue canvas on the railing over there. And then they'll park them up on the bow. We'll get them all on board the ship, and then when everything's shut down, then we'll tow them all back and park them in the landing area to get ready for the next cycle. That's a pretty long day. 8 cycles, hour and a half. We're flying for 12 hours a day. It takes about an hour to get going, about an hour to button it up. So people are up here working about 14 hours a day. So if you went through our berthing compartment and you wondered how people can sleep down there, when you've been up here working 14 hours, you don't have any problem sleeping down there. The other thing I like to point out is that at peak times, we'll have about 250 people up here on the flight deck making it all happen. They're refueling aircraft, servicing aircraft, reloading aircraft, all of those essential jobs that have to be done. The average age on our flight deck is 19 and a half out there doing it. So I always like to kid the moms, you think they can't make their beds at home, but they come out here and do a great job for the Navy. All right. Okay, we're going to head up forward to the, I didn't tell you about some other people that work up here. In this area here, we have 3 enlisted personnel, and they're checking the settings on our resting gear to make sure they're set correctly. They're making the settings on the Fresnel lens over here, the landing aid for the pilots to use. And we'll have about this many people over in this part of the compartment, and they are representatives from each of the squadrons on board. So their job is to pay attention to their pilots and make sure they're doing their jobs right. And if there's an emergency, then they advise the air boss on what to do. Okay, we're going to head up forward to the navigation area. We're going to go down one ladder. You can go down the ladders on the ship either backwards or frontwards. It doesn't matter. The right way to do it, though, is whichever way feels the most comfortable to you. All we ask is hold on, take your time, be safe. All right. I'm coming with you. Don't go. Let me go.
What about him first?
All right.
哦，那我结束啦。那么一个好看的。
The big boats in the road and the mini boats. So if we were home, I'll be here, right? And you'll be here.
没人看我的你，站那儿看我。哎，看我。到这儿来，站这儿不要那个。没人看我。1、2、3，好。拿着相机吧。哦，又开始下点小雨了。
But you don't sell to those guys online. You don't do that.
No, they rip you. They give you.
You guys need to come out, please. We got another group coming up. Out, out.
小心啊，刘宁，台阶儿。这要是咱们伪光正的将军，那得糟透了。伪光正的将军比我还胖，让他爬上来累死。
将军视察有点难度。哎呀，老公你小心啊！楼梯吧。
哦，别跑，没问题。Sorry.
Okay, we got 2 tables. Like I was telling the folks that got here earlier, you can kind of gather around either table. The back table back there where you just come in has more stuff to look at. So you might want to just kind of gather around that one. Okay, this is the chart house. It is not a restaurant. It's where we navigate the ship. And the people who navigate in the Navy are called quartermasters. So this is where they work. So how'd they do that in the good old days? Well, they would take their sextant out at dawn and dusk and shoot the stars. And we have a schematic of a sextant underneath the plexiglass on the front table, and we have a real sextant back there on the aft table on the far end of the aft table back there. So why did they only shoot the stars at dawn and dusk, get their fixes at dawn and dusk? Well, you obviously need to be able to see the stars, but the other thing you've got to have is a clean, sharp, crisp horizon, because you're measuring the angle between the star and the horizon with that sextant. So you get both of those conditions at dawn and dusk. Okay, if you want to get an accurate fix, you need one more instrument. And what do you think that might be? Somebody's a navigator. You need a clock. Who said clock? You need a clock. All right. And the fancy word for clock, an accurate clock, is chronometer. Midway had 3 of them underneath the plexiglass at the forward end of the aft table here. They are very expensive. They're down on the table there, not the ones on the wall. They're down on the table. The fancy word, they're very expensive. Midway, we cannot afford real ones. So we took pictures of 3 of them and put them down there. Okay. But before we had accurate time at sea, a navigator would be lucky to know where he was within 15 or 20 miles. But with accurate time, quartermasters will consistently give you fixes down to 1.5, 2 miles accuracy. So time indeed makes a difference. Okay, we did have electronic navigation on board Midway during its lifetime. One of those things was something called LORAN, Long Range Aid to Navigation. It worked very well in open ocean, so it was a very good system, very accurate, required special maps and charts, but we had that. Other ways they would navigate. Entering and leaving port, they would do something called piloting. And you look on the 2 charts, you'll see examples of that, but what they would do is take lines of bearing of known objects ashore. And where those lines cross on the chart, that's where you are. And they can either do that visually or using the radar. We have a radar in the forward part of the compartment up there on the starboard side for that purpose. But if they're using the radar, they actually use range instead of bearing, because that's more accurate with a radar. And as a backup to that, if you look on the charts in the white area where the water is, and hopefully where the ship is, you'll see a lot of tiny little numbers. That's the depth of water that we're in. So after they get a fix, they will look at the nearest tiny little number and then come over to the fathometer over here, which measures the depth of water. If those two numbers agree, we have a happy navigator. But if they don't agree, we have a nervous navigator. If something is wrong and they need to reconcile that. Then along came GPS and took all the fun out of navigation. They don't have to do this stuff anymore. It's all done automatically, feeds into the computer, automatically displayed on those gorgeous flat panel displays. In fact, the Navy is in the process right now of certifying all of its ships for paperless navigation. At some point in the future, the ships will no longer have a sextant on board, will no longer have paper charts on board, and it will no longer have me on board. I would be very nervous about that. One last comment. Look back, look on this table. Sitting on the table here, all the way back on the far end of this table, you'll see a big, ugly green box tilted up at an angle. That is what GPS looked like on Midway in 1990. And the only thing that big, ugly thing did was put numbers on a little cathode ray tube. You had to copy those numbers down on a piece of paper, come over to the paper chart over there, and plot it all out. Now GPS comes to you in the palm of your hand. And not only does this thing plot it for you, but it plots it in color and it talks to you. So I'm amazed, when you think about it, what in a mere 20 years, what has happened to the technology has done to GPS and that big ugly thing to the palm of your hand. But I guess I'm easily impressed. I don't know. All right, we're going to head on up forward to the Captain's Bridge.
I got a question real quick.
Yes, sir.
This dead reckoning device, is this original equipment?
Yes, it is.
So is it just taking the compass bearing and the speed and it's trying to tell
Yes.
you, here's your...
Yes, that's an analog computer, and it's doing exactly what you just said. So we're just, if I'm overcast like today, I don't see the stars. Tonight, I won't see any stars, so I'm dead reckoning.
Do you think this thing was even close to accurate, 20, 30 miles?
It's pretty good. It's actually pretty good. The only thing that's going to mess us up are sea currents. It can't take that. It doesn't know. It doesn't know. But we have charts that, we kind of got an idea roughly of what sea currents are, so we can apply that, but we won't. The inaccuracy will be due to our currents out here.
All right.
I thought I told you I was This is the bridge. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, come on in. You're on the bridge, and who do you expect to find on the bridge? You got the captain sitting in his chair over here, in charge, running the show. Okay. And on the other side, we have the navigator sitting over there. So we have the captain and we have the navigator. Those are the only two people who get to sit down on the bridge. When the Navy says stand to watch, that's exactly what the Navy means, stand. Now, once again, please, to everybody take turns sitting in the captain's chair. Take all the pictures that you want to take. So do that while I'm talking. You can sit in the navigator's chair, too, and just take turns doing all of this stuff. Now, contrary to what you may hear on TV and all that stuff, the captain does not normally sit up here barking orders out to everybody. The captain has a team of people running the ship for him. You want to go sit in the captain's chair? Come on, be the captain. Come on.
You have to.
Yeah, you got to be the captain. Okay. All right. Has a team of people running the ship for him. That team is headed by an officer of the deck, and there's 2 other officers on the team, plus about 5 to 7 enlisted personnel on the team. The officer of the deck knows what the captain wants done and knows how to make it happen. Nobody has to tell him. Typically, the officer of the deck would be a lieutenant or lieutenant junior grade, which means that he and now she would be about 25 years old running this ship for the captain. So a lot of responsibility at a young age on a ship like this. The captain, just to set the tone for you, the captain's career is up here on this bridge. So when this ship is at sea, the captain is going to be up here or in his little cabin right behind the bridge. And you'll see that cabin as you leave. So the captain's up here. He may have a little meeting going on. He may have 4 or 5 officers around him. They're having a little meeting in soft whispers. You got the officer on the deck and 3 officers in this area. You got the navigator, the assistant navigator on the other side. So at any one point in time, you may have 6 to 12 officers up here. Who has authority to issue orders to people inside the pilot house? Only one person does. The captain will appoint one of the officer of the deck will appoint one of the officers on the watch team as the conning officer. That's the only person who can issue orders, not even the captain, just the conning officer. Now, it's not a problem that the captain wants to issue orders. All he does is yell out, "This is the captain, I have the con, it's his ship, he can take control anytime he wants to." Now he can issue all the orders that he wants to. Okay, we're going to step on inside, and I'll talk about that.
Oh, sorry.
Can I ask you a question?
Take turns sitting in there. Yeah.
What is it between the navigator and the quartermaster?
The quartermaster works for the navigator.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
so he relay where we at.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
will tell-
So
okay, I
the
see what-
navigator is in
让他走了，
charge
你
of
来
all
操
the
作。
Okay, I see what it's saying.
谢谢啊，我来给你。
Alright, this is helmsman here, the helmsman. So we got a helmsman steering the ship around the ocean. Now, the helm does not steer visually. You obviously can't see very much from in here.
看着那个仪表
His
盘，
heading
就这
command
样
from
往
that
前
conning
点，
officer we talked
身
about.
体往前点，
So
看
got
着
two
仪表
compasses
盘
in，case one fails. If they both fail, we actually have a
像你操作一
magnetic
样。
compass that can be used. The helmsman steering this 70,000-ton ship around the ocean at 35 miles an hour with no brakes, about 19 years old. Now think about that. A year ago, his father was having second thoughts about giving him the keys of the family car to drive to the high school prom. And now he's out here driving a 70,000-ton ship around the ocean. So a lot happens in a year in a young person's life out here. This device over here is called the engine order telegraph. That's our accelerator. It's how we get our speed command down to the engine room. The bosun's mate of the watch stands right at this table. And no, not at the table, but I'm sorry, but at the little microphone. And that's our senior enlisted person. So the important job is to make sure the enlisted personnel are trained properly and doing their job properly. But from that microphone, it makes announcements throughout the ship, every compartment simultaneously. And you've heard some of those announcements being played, today during your visit. They kind of blow the pipe and then make an announcement. On the real ship, that's where it comes from. That table over here is where the quartermaster of the watch would stand. And that person writes down every order that's issued on the bridge. And they still do it that way. They do not record it electronically. They write it down the old-fashioned way. And when the book is full, they send the book to Naval Archives. And Naval Archives contains logbooks on every ship that's ever been in the Navy. Ship's whistle, which we have up here, which is disconnected for obvious reasons. One of them standing in the door. You'd love to blow the ship's whistle, wouldn't you? All right, yes you would. Okay, so this is the bridge. This is how we did it. So thank you very much for coming up to see us today. And as you leave, you're going to head down this little passageway. And on your left, look to your left as you go aft, and that's the captain's at-sea cabin. So when the ship is at sea, the captain's going to do most of his sleeping up here. Most of the action, he can be out on the bridge, in a matter of seconds, in case something goes wrong. So thanks again.
Thank you.
And be careful going down those ladders. Take your time. All right.
回头看我这边拿一个小壶那儿去，
Okay.
看我，
Thanks again, sir.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming up to see us.
later。
And keep ducking.
Thanks, Rick. Great tour. Thank you.
Thank you.
1、2、还行吗？
Did you steer the ship? Come on up. Did you steer? Okay. We're going to make sure. I didn't want you to miss an opportunity here. Did you get a picture of you steering the ship? Yes. All right.
满足了吧，刘爷？啊？满足啊
I was born in Aurora. You know where Aurora is?
？Steer the ship 了你？
Aurora.
Oh yes.
啊？某人 steer， 小心哦。 我没问题啊。刘处处当了一把 captain， 而且还操作了一把大轮盘。
哎呀，是呀，
深讲几句，结束视频。本段视频，大飞豆。
我们参观了 bridge 啊，
完了，
当了回船长、
完了，
舰长，
完了，
还有我爱大宝。
完了，好。